Hey guys, welcome to a brand new video on my channel, Meg's Movies. If you are new to this channel, this is basically where I talk to you guys about my passion for movies. This goes from collections, hauls, reviews, and to today's video, so let's get into it. Okay, so I'm struggling to think of what video to do today. Just for the simple fact of, I'm supposed to be getting some subscriber mail today from a certain someone. But I'm not sure if it's going to arrive before I go to work or after. So I wanted to make sure I got a video done for you guys today. And I was looking at my collection and I thought, you know what? I haven't updated a list in a very long time. Probably about a year or two, I think. So I thought I'd give you guys an updated list of my A to Z of my favourite movies, starting off with my live action ones. So I will say there's certain letters that I struggled to pick one for, whether that's because I haven't seen a lot of movies in that letter or there's movies in that letter that I'm not really a massive fan of. So some of these were quite a struggle, but yeah, so let's get into it. So at A, we have Avengers Endgame. There was no way I could not pick this film. This made me laugh, it made me cry, it made me yell at the screen. So, of course, I had to go for Avengers Endgame. It was either that or Ace Ventura, one of the two. It always chops and changes depending what mood I'm in. But for A, Avengers Endgame. Then B, we have a classic, and that is The Breakfast Club. I remember the first time I ever watched this film. My friend Curtis got me this, I think it was for my birthday, if I remember correctly. I watched the film and I fell in love with this film, and especially the soundtrack. Don't You Forget About Me, I listened to that so many times whilst I was in sixth form. So, of course, I had to put Breakfast Club into this list. Then at C, we have another classic, and that is Child's Play. Of course, we all know that C was going to be Child's Play. I can't think of anything else that I would put there. I love Chucky. He's one of my favourite horror villains after Ghostface and after Freddy Krueger. But yeah, so of course I had to go for the classic Child's Play. I do want to get the rest of these on 4K with these nice slip, so eventually we'll get there. Then at D, we have my first Jim Carrey film, and that is, of course, Dumb and Dumber. Love this film to bits, watched it in the cinema. This was actually, no, Dumber and Dumber 2 was my first cinema trip on my own ever, so that's what kicked it off. But I got to see this in the cinema, I think it was not last year, maybe the year before. And it was so good to see this on the big screen. Jim Carrey, Jeff Daniels. Comedic geniuses. Love them both. Then at E, we have a more recent film, and that is Evil Dead Rise. I struggled to think of what I wanted in E, but then I thought about it, and I remember how much of an impact this film had on me, how much it creeped me out, and it was the first film I ever watched from the Evil Dead franchise. So, of course, that had to be my E. If you are not new to this channel and you've been subscribed for a while, you know what my F, G and H will be. But if you're new, F is Fright Night. This is the original. This was my first ever vampire film I watched, and this is the movie that got me into vampires. So, thank you very much for that. So, of course, I had to go for the classic, and I had to go for the steelbook as well. I need to get the 4K one at some point. And then at G, we have Grease. Yes. It was a toss-up between Gremlins and Grease, but I had to go for the movie that got me into musicals. So thank you very much for that, John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John. Absolute classic musical film. I still watch this film from time to time. It's honestly one of my favourite musicals and one of my favourite steelbooks. So, of course, I had to show that off. And at H, we have Hocus Pocus, my favourite Halloween film to watch of all time. I always have to watch this every single year. This is a tradition of mine. I've got so many copies of Hocus Pocus, and I probably will collect more. But say, Hocus Pocus, my go-to Halloween watch every year. Now, at I did struggle. It was between The Incredible Burt Wonderstone or In the Heights, and I had to go for In the Heights because this, I still listen to the songs all the time, and to be honest, I enjoyed this more than I thought I would. This movie surprised me, and hence why I decided to add it to my collection. And with this letter J, I did struggle with this one as well. It was between Jumanji or John Wick. And I had to be completely honest, I really love John Wick, especially the whole franchise. So many good films in this. Just such an action-packed film. Keanu Reeves, one of his best roles, I must admit. I look forward to seeing the other John Wick films that they come out with. But if you want a fun, action-packed movie, this is one I'd recommend. Then at K, we go back to the classics, and that is Kindergarten Cop. I grew up on this film, and I loved it. And it's one of those weird Arnie films where it's kind of action, but it's also family-friendly. So, yeah, different. And say, this is... I think for me, as much as I love the Terminator films, and I do enjoy them, I prefer him in these kind of roles, because they're fun, it's different for him. So, Kindergarten Cop was at K. And of course, at L and M, we should know that L is Labyrinth. I absolutely love this film. I remember the first time I watched this film and I had a massive crush on David Bowie after that. But no, this is an absolute classic, one of my favourites. And it's all thanks to my sister who wanted to watch this originally, so here's to her. And at M, we have another Jim Carrey film, and that is The Mask. Of course, everyone knows this is my absolute favourite Jim Carrey film. One of my favourite comedy films of all time. So, of course, I had to show off my steelbook for it as well. It was either that or The Mummy. Like, honestly, some of these letters I could pick multiples for. So, yeah, I had to go with The Mask. And at N, we have the OG Nightmare on Elm Street. Absolutely love this film. I remember it took me years and years to watch this film because it just creeped me out so much growing up. But now, I'm obsessed with it. It's one of my favourite horror franchises after Scream. It's a toss-up between Child's Play and Nightmare on Elm Street as to what my number 2 would be. But Robert Englund, he made this his role, and I'm so glad we got so many films. I know a couple of them aren't that great, but Robert Englund cemented Freddy Krueger into the horror villain history, and I love it. Okay, and then at O, we have Once Bitten. This is Jim Carrey's first ever major movie role. This is when he was a main character for a change. And I can't believe how cheesy this vampire film is. And I can't believe it took me years to watch, especially since it's Jim Carrey and it's a vampire film. But overall, if you want a cheesy 80s film, I recommend this one. Now, P, I did struggle with because I do like things like Pitch Perfect, Pirates of the Caribbean, things like that. But I have to go with the movie that made me laugh the most. And that is Paul. I haven't watched this in a very long time. I do need to give this a rewatch. But I remember the first time I brought this film and I put it on, I could not stop laughing. Simon Pegg, Nick Frost, yet again another comedic duo that are absolutely amazing. Wouldn't mind a sequel to Paul. It would be quite funny to see where they'd go with it. But for a film that we got, absolutely hilarious. I can't even remember when this came out. I want to say like 2000 and something. 2011. Wow. Some of these films just feel well old. For Q, yet again, this is one I struggled with, but I went for A Quiet Place. Honestly, this is one of the only films that's ever made me want to sit there in complete silence, because I feel like if I was to make a noise, I'd be attacked by the aliens. That's how intense this movie made me feel. Such a good film. If you have not watched it, I seriously recommend you do. And even the second one. I will be seeing the prequel. Not sure how much more I'll enjoy it, especially since it's not going to have the family in it from the first 2 films. But I like the fact we're getting to see a little different side of it. And with R, of course, I had to go Ready or Not. Absolutely hilarious, weird, funny, enjoyable. Me and my mum both enjoy this film so much. And if you have not watched it, I recommend it. It is amazing. It's different, it's funny, and say it's by Radio Silence, who have done 2 of the Scream films as well. So, seriously, recommend this film. And then, of course, speaking of S, no way was it going to be anything other than Scream. We all know Scream is my favourite horror franchise of all time, and this is one of my favourite films of all time. So, of course, I had to include Scream. I enjoy every movie in that franchise, but I had to show off number 1. Because Wes Craven, rest in peace, you did an amazing job. Okay, and at T, we have one of the only long-running films in this catalogue, apart from Avengers Endgame, and that is Titanic. This was one of the first ever movies I watched, and I just have so many memories tied to this film, and I get emotional every time I watch it, and just, honestly, an absolutely amazing film, and this is one of the many films that got me to fall in love with movies, so thank you very much, Titanic, James Cameron, Leonardo DiCaprio, Kate Winslet, honestly. Very good job. I did struggle with picking one for this one, but I eventually went with Unfriended. This was a different kind of horror movie. It was kind of found footage in a sense, but it was all done through a laptop screen. Certainly a different kind of horror movie. There's certain scenes I cannot watch. But yeah, overall, this is a very simple horror movie that if you want to watch a horror film that isn't too complicated, this is one I'd recommend. At V, this is probably one of the most underrated vampire films, I think, and that is Van Helsing. I really enjoy this film. I know not many people did, but you know what? I enjoy it, and you can tell that I love vampires because there's been quite a few vampire films in this list. But no, Van Helsing, Hugh Jackman, he did a really good role in this. Kate Beckinsale did an amazing job in this. Honestly, I do recommend this film. Just give it a watch, like even if it takes 1 or 2 watches. Now, this one might be, I don't know if I'm the only one on this one, but for W, I've gone with Without a Paddle. I don't know why, but I enjoy this film. It's funny, it's hilarious, but I don't hear many people talking about it. I have not seen the second one, and I probably won't for a very long time. But I enjoy this film. You know, it's got Seth Green in it, Matthew Lillard, Dax Shepard. It is funny. It's weird, but it's funny. So, seriously, recommend that one. Let me know if you've seen Without a Paddle. I'd love to know. Yet again, this is another one I struggled with, and it's X, so I've gone with X. Just for the simple fact of I haven't watched the X-Men films in a very long time, so I'm not really sure if any of them would make this list. But this is yet again another horror movie that surprised me. I have not watched Pearl, so I need to watch Pearl before I go and see Maxine. But this is certainly a different kind of slasher film, so... Well, not really a slasher film. I don't know how you define it. Let me know how you define it. And then with Y, of course, Jim Carrey's Yes Man. Imagine having to say yes to absolutely everything that you couldn't say no. So there's certain things you want to say no to, but you have to say yes. I couldn't imagine doing that. Whole day saying yes, I'd be concerned of what I'm saying yes to. And that's exactly what happened here. It's a funny film, certainly a different film. I will say it's just, there's a couple of scenes in here that are a little bit weird. But overall, this is a Jim Carrey film that, I'm going to be honest, I don't really return to that much, but I do still enjoy. And finishing it off, we have Z, and if you are a subscriber to this channel and you've been here for a while, you know what Z is, and that is Zombieland. I really enjoy this film, but I think what makes it for me is Tallahassee trying to look for a Twinkie. I don't know why, out of everything in this film, that's my favourite thing. Don't ask me why. So yeah, that is my A to Z of my favourite movies of all time. So this is the live action one, so I will do an animated one at some point. But I thought I'd give you an updated list, because obviously there's been some new movies that I've seen, and there's some ones that I haven't watched in a long time that I rewatched and I found new love for. So I thought, why not give you guys an updated list? So yeah, I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, then do give it a thumbs up. And if you are new to this channel, then go ahead, hit that subscribe button and also notification bell down below to be notified when I post. And also leave me your comments and thoughts on your A to Z of your favourite movies. I'd love to know. Let me know in the comments down below. See you guys next time. Bye!